Okay, and we're just gonna try to get everything out of frame if possible. Okay, I think we should be good. Okay. Okay. Hello. If you're watching from the States, happy Thanksgiving. If you are not, happy Thursday. Hey, Catherine. Oh my goodness. Yes, happy Thanksgiving. And with that said, it is probably going to be maybe a little bit shorter. I'd like to get home as soon as I can today. Um, but we'll see. We'll see how today goes. Um, Likewise, Catherine. Thank you so much for that. I hope you're having a wonderful day as well. Uh, yeah, I've been really pumping out a lot of videos this past week. Not necessarily in terms of the release, but just in terms of me uh, filming and editing and putting out not releasing obviously, but just grinding a lot of stuff. Um, because there's just a lot of music and a lot of different ideas that I really want to get off the ground. Uh, Something that is in development is a secondary channel where I do a lot more beyond just music. I provide my thoughts and opinions about things, maybe do vlogging or something. I have really long philosophical conversations. I really enjoy things like that. So we'll see how that goes. But um, I don't know. It's a work in progress. Um, but yes, yes, I really do would bleh. I really would like to get home at, as soon as I can. But I also really wanted to make sure that today I didn't miss this live stream because I had to cancel last week's. Dinner number 2 in an hour. I have not eaten that all today. I've been uh, saving for later on tonight. So, this is a once a year feast. I have to make sure I'm ready for it. You need to chill sometime and relax. I mean, that was the whole point of me taking uh, Fridays off, where when I started the channel, I was just pumping a video out every single day, and when I started to feel burnout coming on, I said I'm just going to take Fridays off. I'm going to release some of the gas on Thursday, and I'm going to pick it back up on Saturday and start putting things together Sunday throughout the week for Patreon, and then the actual week itself, the work week, would be for YouTube and Patreon. But um, no, I do my best to take care of myself, so I appreciate that. But yeah, on top of that, it's just applying for a bunch of different jobs as well and seeing what I can catch. Uh, I had a dinner at a restaurant earlier. My tradition is getting family and friends together that have no plans. That's really awesome. Uh, yeah, there's a for the holiday season. I should reach out to a buddy of mine. I want to see how he's doing because he. What can I reveal? His upbringing was not one of the most merriment and joy, and we might not see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, but gosh, I really respect him, and I really love spending time with him, and we really haven't had the opportunity to spend a lot of time together. So it would be really good to see him for the holidays. I'll ask him about that. But let's have a little bit of fun with this live stream. Are you going to see your family afterwards? I am. That I was just saying that probably this live stream might be a little bit shorter, just so I can get down to my family sooner. Um, I'm mainly alone. My brother is in Georgia. I just had to take an early retirement, so I had Outback delivered. My birds and I are just chilling. Outback is solid. You enjoy your feast with your birds. I'm glad that I could give you some company in that regard. Um, let me think. Let me think. Uh, let's bust out some fun songs. But what's also I haven't warmed up, so forgive me for that. Uh, I don't know. I'm just really tired. I have a little bit of a headache. Uh, well, I'll come up with something in a bit, but right now we're just kind of grooving into the day itself. Ooh, yeah, that's a nice little tune. Uh, I think that's Chopin, right? The I man, I can't recall the name of that piece. It's at the tip of my tongue too. Whatever. um, in tradition of Thanksgiving, I'm grateful to have found your channel. Oh, and I've learned so much for you. Grateful for the community. Thank you for that. Um, that means a lot. Thank you. I really am trying to build a solid community of uh, open-minded people, people that aren't just loyal to either artists or to me individually or to other YouTubers individually. You know, you can both like and dislike one particular thing or multiple things, or, you know, there's just so much nuance in the world that just keeping an open mind and an open heart about how we engage with things, I think, is a really core philosophy of myself and the channel. So I really appreciate you being here, and I hope to keep building a community of people who value that. Uh, I enjoyed your Dan Vask reactions this last week. John, dude, there's been so many Dan reactions, and I still have more on the way. Just because of all of the requests that have been coming in for Dan, and I love covering Dan, and uh, and I love like this opportunity to keep getting these donations for it. But I have filmed finally a couple of other videos outside of that. Um, Not to put the donations on hold because I've already filmed the Dan stuff, but I'm going to start incorporating some variety that's just outside of Dan for a little bit. Um, because I have not been able to react to any of the beatboxing stuff that's been coming out or any other music outside of Dan that I wanted to cover. So I'm really excited to be able to present some of that music. But fear not, there for anybody that's still waiting for their donation requests, I am or already have filmed it and edited it and will release it in the upcoming week. Yeah, it'll be a really good time. I'm really excited for that. uh, will you be reacting to artists during doing holiday songs in December? Well, I mean, I feel like I've already started doing that. But yeah, I also expect like, well, I don't expect donations to come in, but for any that might come in during that time, uh, I expect those requests to be around the holiday season. But I'm already going to give at least a few. It'll be tough doing things by Pentatonics because their copyright is a nightmare. Also, for those that haven't seen, I had to take down my recent Dimash video. Uh, I got a copyright strike on it, and I had to take it down. And that was a nightmare to get through. And there's no contact information for that third party music distributor. And it drove me absolutely nuts because that was a pretty popular video. But it is what it is. Um, and it really frustrates me too because the whole reason why I started creating the videos like in their current format with the primary analysis on YouTube with the full reaction and everything on Patreon. The main reason for that isn't just because of Patreon. It was so I wouldn't have to deal with these copyright strikes. And here I am dealing with them. Man, it's so frustrating, but I'll find a way. Um, I just wanted to know if you had a theme in December in case I had in case I had something to recommend. Um, well, the theme in December is gonna be the holidays. Uh, I'm going to do some fun music. For me personally, I grew up with both Hanukkah and Christmas, so I'll probably have a little bit of both in terms of the music on the channel, but we'll see. But that'll be the theme of it for sure. Um, and I'll most likely, very similar to a couple of the videos I had in October, I'm going to put in a lot of extra effort for a few of those videos to make it a lot more merry and fun, kind of similar to some of the videos in October that were a little bit more spooky and eerie. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm gonna put in a lot of effort to really give the best content I can make for especially for this holiday season. You should see Weird Al's Christmas at Ground Zero. I haven't seen that, but yeah, that sounds like fun. Man, Weird Al has been going for a long time, and I really, really respect that guy. He's just incredible. I remember the first time I heard him, I want to say I was 7 or 8, and I heard him parody American Pie with Star Wars. And ever since then, I thought, wow, this is awesome. And then I heard him do Michael Jackson's "Beat It" with "Eat It," and the rest is history. I just heard so much Amish Paradise, yeah, some white and nerdy, some really great stuff. I really like Weird Al. I actually saw him live at the Hollywood Bowl, and uh, I think his performance name was like Polka Palooza or something like that. Uh, but he's awesome. Uh, he's just a year younger than me. I apologize. Uh, I mean, it's not to say that he's old. Um, to be honest, when I think about, I I understand why people are concerned about age, but I really don't get or rather understand the phenomenon about aging. Like, And I don't want to say that that's primarily because I'm still young, but it is more about I understand that we as humans live to 70 to 100 in that time range, usually. That time, yeah. And we live, we grow, we die, we do our best to make an impact on the world. And, our bodies atrophy over time. And that's like, I don't know. I just think it's so natural and so intrinsic to human nature that like to have a certain level of not censorship, but knowledge to not talk about it. I don't know. It feels really weird to me. And that isn't even to say that these people are old to begin with, because I look at humanity as a whole on such a regular basis that I don't even think people that we would identify as old people are old at all. Like even if you're 100, because I think of humanity on such a large scale and human potential for the future, as well as the people who have helped build society for today from the past. Uh, I what is old is old by people who are still alive, or old by generational standards, by centuries, millennia. I understand that the consensus rather is built around people who are alive because that's who we can talk about. But I don't know. It just feels really weird to me to consider things to be old uh, when you look at the grand scheme of Earth, the universe. Young at heart. Yeah, like I remember. Oh my gosh, what was his name? I think it's Bob Gurr. He was a Disney Imagineer, and he actually had a podcast. I don't know if he still does, but he worked hand in hand with Walt Disney building Disneyland, and shared a lot of his enthusiasm for the future. And on his podcast, he said he was running down the supermarket aisle and jumped on the cart and zoomed down, and somebody asked him, or rather commented to him saying, "You should act your age." And he absolutely rejected that. And I agree with that notion. It's if you find things that genuinely make you happy, I don't think there is a particular age that should prevent you from enjoying the things that make you happy. You know, it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Betty White is still young at heart at 99, so age is just a number. It's your heart that matters and how you look at everyone. Yeah, it's. I didn't even know Betty White was 99. Holy smokes. Um, but yeah, I. Being kind, educating yourself, being respectful, but also being strong in your value system, your beliefs, but yet open to change and nuance, but not being disrespected, and navigating the world while adhering to your own set of principles in a way that's rich and authentically you, but allows you to sympathize and in some cases empathize with other people's personal engagements with the world. it's such a fine line to walk, and it's so challenging to do. Man, it is tough, man. It is really tough navigating the world. So if there are ultimately, I'm saying that I agree with you. I really don't see the utility in identifying a person's age per se. Um, I find it really valuable, or actually, this is something that really bothers me, just on a personal level, is when people say, "Oh, you're only this age. Wait until you're this age," which to me is discrediting my other experiences, which kind of comes into this thought process of, does age equate, or is age tantamount to experience? And to me, that answer is no. A 10-year-old can go through the trials of an adult, whereas an adult can be pampered and protected their entire life and not have any experience or wisdom. So it really just comes to the point of, what is it that you, as a unique individual of this world, what is it that you have experienced? What are your hardships? What have you gone through? What have you learned from them? And how do you navigate the world with this rich understanding of the world as you've experienced it, in tandem with the proven knowledge that we've discovered as a species? And again, it's very nuanced, and there's a lot of challenge, but I think it's definitely I think there's a lot of value to be gained from listening to others, for sure. But yeah, uh, something else that I've been doing is I've been making a so essentially on Thursdays, like I mentioned earlier in the stream, I I take my foot off the gas a little bit and just relax a little bit more. I still do a little bit of work, this live stream being one of them, but I take my foot off the gas just a little bit so I can decompress and get ready for my full day off on Friday. Uh, but earlier in the day, and not but so earlier today, I film content for my top tier on Patreon. I don't have anybody in that tier yet, but someday there will be. So when that day eventually comes, they will have a lot of content. um, but some of the content that I have there right now is just music that you can put on in, or not music, but just content that you could put on in the background. And it's just me playing a couple games, uh, narrating through them, us hanging out, kind of stuff. I hope to have a lot more different types of varying content on that specific tier as well. But as of right now, that's what I have, and that's what I film on Thursdays as well. And it's really nice. I really enjoy the decompression through it, where I know that I could be enjoying a game on one end, but also that I can actually film content and enjoy making that content, and enjoy, and just know that whoever does come to that tier can enjoy that content with me, and there's just there it's a nice, at least in concept, creates a nice cycle of goodness. Experience isn't everything, knowledge isn't everything. It's the wisdom that you glean from those things that make the journey worth it. Yeah, yeah. Presently, I operate under the impression that wisdom is knowledge that has been applied. And ultimately, and this is where a lot of nuance comes into play, where if two people learn an objective truth and apply it in two different situations in their own lives and ultimately come out with two different outcomes, both of those people have gained wisdom for themselves and can share and impart that wisdom to others. However, both of those outcomes might even be antithetical to each other, and it's important to recognize that wisdom does not inherently mean objective truth, because that's what fundamental objectivity is. Like, understanding that human beings are 70% water. That is an objective truth. We understand this as a fact. Uh, or things like that, things that are indisputable. But then actually being able to go out into the world and not using the human beings being 70% water as an example, but taking something like an objective truth like that and applying it to the world in a way that is richly your own, in a way that is under your specific circumstance. You know, it's tough. There's, in the universe, you know, or rather, here's an interesting thought experiment. Since human beings are composed of the same elements of the universe, some of the most common elements of the universe, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, etc., uh, reflecting on the idea that human beings are the universe experiencing themselves in a key way, or the universe experiencing itself, it's actually quite beautiful in some key ways, in the idea that we engage with other elements of the universe, not literally in terms of other physical elements, but we converse with other human beings, other animals. We try to make sense of the world around us, but we are also emotional creatures. We act illogically, sometimes for the good, sometimes for the bad. And a lot of times for things that are very nuanced that share a little bit of both. And there's a lot of just, I think there's an inherent goodness that comes with what does it mean to actually engage with yourself as an extension of the universe. It's really tough to express my felicity on this, to put this into words, but I don't know. These are just things that I think about religiously. um, but yeah, I really enjoy thinking about these things. What does it mean to produce genuine good and not creating a facade of goodness? You know, like I remember when I was in high school, one of my English teachers stressed the importance of integrity and kept emphasizing what he genuinely felt integrity was, which is doing something that you know to be genuinely good without other people's attention or praise. And I would go a step further in that to say, doing something you know to be genuinely good, not only in the absence of other people's praise and attention, but also something that would serve at your inconvenience, or something that actually costs you something on a personal level. And that to me is the definition of what sacrifice is. Sacrifice is this idea where you give up something of genuine value in order to pursue genuine goodness. Uh, obviously that's not the only uh, I'm not putting it into a container. Uh, you can define it in a myriad of ways. There's some times where sacrifice is forced upon people, and it ultimately leads to bitterness, resentment, hatred, etc. But and I see this a lot online too. And honestly, again, YouTube is my only form of social media. I have no other social media outside of this. And I get that that's not right for someone who's trying to build a channel. But I really dislike being on my phone constantly. Um, but ultimately, something that I really want to believe in is the goodness of others, the goodness of humanity, and what it is that we're truly capable of and have genuine potential in. And that isn't to discount our negative traits or our bad habits. All of those things make us human beings, and I recognize these things and can genuinely find the utility in feeling negative things. But I think it also comes to the point of understanding that each and every one of us not only truly struggles and suffers, but not just hearing that as advice, but actually internalizing it, knowing that a person you hate has probably experienced tremendous hardship and adversity, which has led them to their own bitter views of the world and of others. Not being able to look past people's eccentricities, especially in this age of social media, where people only post their best or good things that are happening. It's a great opportunity for people to express a certain facade, a certain persona that they wish to present to the world, but it's not genuinely who they are. If they genuinely presented who they are as people, including their negative, darker sides, they would probably be heavily criticized and uh, lampooned for it. And some people might even be excoriated. So it's really important to know that everybody has not just what they're presenting on social media. And I try to incorporate that in a little bit in a few of my videos, which oftentimes are met with that same excoriation. But it's true to me. And like you were mentioning earlier, Catherine, it's a little bit of what does it mean to build a community of people who truly value these things, and I think that that's something really valuable. Sacrifice can mean thinking and caring for others first over your own priorities. It doesn't have to be painful, but it requires one to put their own ego under the needs of others. Yeah, no, that's definitely an insightful way of viewing it. Uh, After you get to a certain age, you stop thinking about what others think about you. I'm kind of curmudgeonly, but I feel I have a kind heart. I mean, for me personally, it wasn't a specific age for me. It's just like I was mentioning earlier, it I don't think it's about age. I think it's just about the experience you have. And I and the kind of person that you are. And for me personally, pretty much I thought I had the mentality of not caring about what other people thought of me, but it really brought to light how I feel about it when in at the end of 2020 moving into 2021. So it's really tough. Like ultimately I also like to believe I have a kind heart, that I would do the right thing in uh adversarious circumstances, but it's really hard to know until I'm put into those situations. And it's like the idea of, and this is an extreme example, but it's just something to keep in mind. Would you be willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for people you cared about, putting away your own needs for survival, your own instinctual needs, uh, and things like that? And it's terrifying because it's not just, yes, I'm doing this because I believe it's the right thing, but also it's, is me doing this in their best interest? Is, do they want to see me sacrifice myself for them? Uh, and you can't put that burden on other people just because you think you might be doing the right thing, or you think you're acting in a way that is heroic, even though you very well could be. And it's really tough to navigate these very nuanced roads. Um, but we're all social animals, human beings are. And I think it also comes to the point of, in order just to survive, we need a certain level of wanting to be liked by other people, because to be completely ostracized from any society will ultimately lead to our own downfall. We need interaction with others. I, and this is coming from someone extremely introverted. um, like for me personally, I know what skill set I have that I'm able to provide for others. I'm excellent at being able to, or I'm I'm an excellent musician, uh, and I studied for it. I trained for it. I've gone out into the world and applied that knowledge, transformed it into wisdom, and have utilized it in tremendous ways. Uh, I The job that I had to subsidize my income for most of my life was being a barista, not just for places like Starbucks, but for specialty coffee houses as well. I've learned about the coffee brewing process, the coffee harvesting process, how to do coffee tastings and things like that. So I genuinely do know how to uh, prepare and create really great coffee for people, but that doesn't mean that I know how to farm my own fruits and vegetables. I don't know how to make my own clothes. I rely on other people for these things. And that's why it's imperative that I not completely sacrifice my complete sense of self in order to conform to the ideal human male in society, but to be able to conform to the societies that I'm currently living in laws, and to be able to say, this is where I'm living in, this is what I need to follow in order to still exist within the society. As I continue to navigate the world and hopefully travel the world and live in various countries around the world, uh, then I will absolutely take the time to learn their laws, their cultures, their standards for living, and apply myself to live under those guidelines. And I think that's the real beautiful thing about existing in human society. Just being able to understand how different regions interact and engage with the world, what it is they value because of their region, because of their culture, their history, uh, and and opening yourself up to the beauty that is the human condition, human potential, humanity itself. Uh, Things like paying something forward, doing things secretly. When you do good for the sake of doing good, no one needs to know it was you who did that good. Yeah, yeah, that leads back into our conversation on integrity, which leads into, excuse me, which is, are you capable of doing something good that isn't being publicized or recorded? You know, we want people to recognize that we are doing good because it promotes a good self-image. It promotes a good persona, but it's not something that you can take with you that genuinely builds inner strength. Uh, I recall a line from my favorite animated show of all time, Avatar: The Last Airbender, which one of the most loved characters in all of animated anything had said, "You must not give in to despair. In the darkest times, hope is something you give yourself. That is the meaning of inner strength." And I find that very profound and also ever so slightly incomplete. Yes, in the darkest times, hope is something you give yourself. And expanding further upon that, giving this idea of being your own source of self-propelling energy to do genuine good, to be able to, at your own inconvenience or at a cost to you personally, expend your resources to genuinely help others, because not because you know that other people are watching, but because you genuinely believe it's the right thing to do. Now, don't keep in mind now, yeah, keep in mind that that doesn't negate or nullify a lot of the negative or evil behaviors that a person might commit to at some points. You know, we're all, like I mentioned earlier, we're all human beings. We're all capable of great good and great evil at any point. For a person to simply say, "Oh, this person wouldn't do that. They're not that kind of person." Well, sure they could. You never truly know what's going on in a person's mind and heart because we're vacillate creatures. We're constantly making decisions for ourselves. We have no idea how we're going to feel about something in the future. All we can do is best navigate our emotional selves and today and navigate our actions based off of those emotions. I've mentioned in past videos Jonathan Haidt's uh, metaphor for this kind of thinking, this kind of rationalization, which is the elephant and the person riding the elephant, where the elephant is our emotional selves and the person, the rider riding the elephant, is our pragmatic self. And the pragmatic self tries to navigate the elephant out of harm's way, but the elephant is the thing that's ultimately causing the momentum. We wouldn't be inspired to do anything if we weren't emotionally charged enough to do it. What genuinely motivates you to get out of bed in the morning? For some people, it's their faith, it's their religion, it's what they've committed themselves to, which is a really beautiful thing. For some other people, it's a commitment to themselves to say, this is what I genuinely want to set out to achieve today. And they hold on to that and create expectations and standards for themselves that they hold themselves to. And I think that that's really beautiful and profound. There's people that genuinely want to promote the higher education of what humanity has already come to know. People like, say, astrophysicists who genuinely want to learn more about the final frontier and go out and create and hypothesize and do everything they can to expand humanity's understanding of what it is that we've come to know about the universe. Um, Very similarly to how people choose to exist today and how we conceptualize our understanding of what life itself is, which again can either be faith based in religion, in philosophy, or just in your own personal experience of the world. Some people genuinely enjoy the routine. You know, they wake up, they go out to their farm, and I'm just using this as an example, but it can be in a metropolitan area as well. But just using the farm as an example, you can go out to your farm, harvest your grain, plow the fields, uh, you know, feed and maintain your livestock, make yourself food, and just repeat the cycle day in and day out. And there's something very fulfilling and satisfying about that. You know, everybody has their own motivation, but we're all emotional creatures and creatures that use that motivation in order to actually get actionable steps performed and executed. So it's just things like that that I really think about, especially on today of Thanksgiving. But I try to do this every day if possible, um, where I think about I am extremely grateful to be able to not just have all of my limbs. You know, there are people in the world that don't have all of their limbs, but I have the ability and capacity to appreciate and enjoy life. Whenever I walk by a bush with flowers growing out of it, I always do my best to take the time out of my day, even if I'm very busy. I walk over to it and I ensure that I walk over to it, that I'm not in a rush, regardless, even if I am. I walk over to it. I take a deep breath of the flowers and exhale. I allow myself that one moment of engaging with nature in some meaningful way that centers me. And I think there's something really profound about that. Um, Engaging with the world in a way that isn't rushed, that lets me feel more connected to my world. Um, Actually, a few months ago, I had this problem where I felt so locked in my apartment that I absolutely needed to go on a hike or be in nature. And the hikes and nature trails are pretty far away from where I live. I'm deep in the heart of a metropolitan area, and it's tough to make that kind of commitment. And I actually had more work I had to do that evening, but I was so stressed that I went to a park to pick up trash. But unlike how I normally did it, I took off my shoes and socks and was just walking all over the grass barefoot throughout the entirety of it. And it made me so relieved and happy just to know that I was connecting with the ground in some meaningful way. At least to me, it was meaningful. Like, it's really difficult to explain because I've never really had that urge before, but I felt so free in that moment of just doing that single unique task that I knew was healthy for my environment, but also healthy for me personally. Like, I'm not one to want to get my feet dirty for without cause, but there was that cause in that moment, which is just feel the earth, feel like I was actually outside and not secluded and stuck in. And there's something really beautiful about that, I think. It connected me in a really profound way. And I think about that often, actually. I didn't think it would impact me as much as it did, but it did. Ugh. I am I'm going off on a tangent. Uh, I'm an only child, so it was up to me to take care of my parents when they got older, as they did for me when I was younger. Yeah, yeah. Actually, um, I'm very fortunate that both of my parents are able to take care of themselves. But in recent times, my my sister and I have been thinking more of, you know, their bodies aren't going to be capable of being able to take care of themselves forever. So we really have to put ourselves in a really great position to be able to give them everything that they've given us in our upbringing, and more so. You know, it's really frustrating for me personally because it took me so long to get to the point where I'm at now, and I feel like I'm so behind, and I'm not able to give myself or my parents, especially my parents, um, the things that I would have really hoped to have given them by this point in my life. But I've just gotten derailed by so many things in my life that I've fallen victim to. And eventually, when I was able to get out of it and generate the self awareness necessary in order to see where I was actually at in my life and start taking steps to actually be productive and to move forward in the world, it was so late. It was so late, and it's so irritating. But um, yeah, at least I'm on a forward moving path now, and hopefully I'm able to get something really good rolling, snowball this momentum. Sounds like you're becoming self aware. You can reach a balance of self, others, and the world you are in. We all seek connection in our own way. Absolutely, wholeheartedly. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Can't say for a moment, but just to can't stay but for a moment, but just to wish everyone happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, Susan. I'm really glad you were here to share this moment with us. Um, Thank you for the insight. I cared for both my parents. My mother died when I was 16 and my dad couldn't handle it. Then I cared for my dad until his last breath. It was a privilege. That's quite beautiful, actually. Um, in times like that, the first person who died in my life was, well, actually, who, oh man, I don't want to think about who died first. So I'll just say that the first person who had the deepest impact that died in my life at this point in my life was my grandfather. The way he lived his life and what he pursued, knowing not even all, but a lot of the hardship that he experienced in his life, uh, I seek what he sought. And the way he lived his life is such an incredible example of what it is that I truly seek. And to watch my family in this state of sorrow after he passed, because I was there for it, it was heartbreaking. And I wasn't there when my grandmother died, uh, one of my grandmothers, and but my sister was, and she told me how surreal it was. Well, not surreal, but she was more transfixed in the moment, and everything just felt almost as though there was a stoppage of time. Uh, but even going beyond these things, like for me personally, the biggest impact in my life, because I always keep a, I try not to, but there's a part of me that has a really difficult time fully connecting with other people. There's only a very small handful of people that I actually have done this to. Um, but when my dog died, it was heartbreaking for me. It crushed me. Um, and it was like I had a similar reaction to how I think about my family members that have reacted to people that they love. And I try not to think too hard about these things, even though there are times when I do, because I try to find the value and lessons learned from those things. But I think it's really valuable to recognize that the beauty in humanity isn't the fact that they're alive to give us beauty. It's the beauty that they give while they are alive, if that makes sense. It's the idea that um, there was a 14th century Japanese writer, and and I'm going to paraphrase him, I don't remember the exact quote, but he was saying things would lose the ability to move us if they existed perennially. We need to be able to recognize the beauty in things because they are finite, because they are capable of producing something truly graceful and majestic, but only for this moment in time in which we were able to experience it for ourselves. Every breath you take is solely unique to you, and there's even a beauty in that. Every experience you have, regardless of how mundane it is, even if it's you paying a credit card bill, that is solely your own unique experience. That is a part of your path. And I think there's a beauty in that. Some real wisdom to be gained from these events. And even if it's nothing life altering or life changing, just being able to reflect on these moments and reflect on what you did, what you may or may not have done differently, given the information that has followed after the fact, or whatever the case is. It just comes to the point of what can you do personally to be a better version of yourself, to recognize the beauty in yourself and the world around you and the people around you, even if everybody seems like an idiot, which I definitely sympathize with from time to time. Uh, Looking past their eccentricities, looking past their shortcomings, and recognizing that all of the things that bother you that other people commit to are most likely very true in your own being. Like for me personally, watching people be hypocritical drives me nuts. That's but I ask myself, why does hypocrisy drive me nuts? It's because I recognize hypocrisy in myself, and it's a very sensitive subject for me. So I learned to recognize it in myself. I learned to accept it when others tell me that I'm being hypocritical, and I reflect on it and I calm myself and recognize that I am when I am. So it's being open and aware to these types of environments, and moving forward with this mentality. Uh, my mother was orphaned. Her eldest sister had to take care of her and two other siblings. At 18, my aunt had to switch gears, forego a 4-year college scholarship to work. Never was bitter. That's beautiful. It's been an hour and I have to skedaddle. Yeah, I'm about to skedaddle too. Have a happy Thanksgiving, John. Uh, what a wonderful person. She really loved your mother and her siblings. At least to me, that's the embodiment of love. Yeah, to me, love is unconditional. To me, love doesn't mean romantic, even though you can apply romance to it, it's more of an accent. Love is a personal connection, very similar to what relationships are to me. Uh, I can get into a romantic relationship with someone, but the romance is just an added feature on top of a best friendship. And that to me is what love is. Love is an added emotion. It's not something you place all of your heart and soul and all of your apples in that basket into love itself. There has to be a foundational core of what love is, what it means to truly give yourself to someone else who you genuinely want to spend time with and be with, not just because of romance, but because you genuinely have a powerful connection to that person. You forged something truly, truly special with another person. Um, and I am absolutely thankful for all of the people in my life who I was able to forge that relationship with. And with that said, it is a good thing to end on something thankful on this wonderful Thanksgiving if you're living in the States. If you're not living in the States, I hope you have a wonderful Thursday. It is a wonderful day to be alive. I am so thankful to all of you for being here. Thank you so much. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care, everyone.